My name is Isla. I am a weight loss dietitian, and I'm going to give you some meal inspiration for being in a calorie deficit, specifically for spring. So there are so many different meals that I could always recommend. And so to make it a little bit more specific, these meals are going to be meals that are a little bit more inspired by the spring produce that we have going on. And they're also all going to be meals that you would be making. I was thinking that I normally like try to put in ways to be realistic as far as like going to Starbucks, going out to eat. But if you want that type of video, let me know below and I can make a like eating out meal ideas for like breakfast, lunch, and dinner and snacks. So just to make it a little different because I can go on and on in either direction. Sorry if you can hear Bruno's in the background. I don't think this mic will pick it up, but just in case you hear him. But overall, before we dive into my ideas, first know that when you are making a meal for weight loss, you do want to have the general guideline of what I call, well, not I, but the USDA calls my plate, which means you want 2 servings of produce, a serving of protein, and a serving of carb. What this helps with is it helps to have your plate be very full and balanced. And it also helps your meal to be high enough in calories because you're putting in some carbs and some protein, but also high enough in fiber that helps you stay full again with like lower calorie. And we're getting that fiber mostly from the fruits and vegetables. And if you're doing a whole grain for your carbs, that's also giving you some fiber. If you were to miss any of those components in a meal, then you would likely feel hungrier later. Because if you only do carbs and protein, you are probably going to have something that looks like chicken Alfredo, and that's going to be very high in calories. But if you're only doing something but like vegetables, like just a lettuce salad, then you're probably going to be hungry later on. So you really need all 4 of these components. The exact size of the components that more so has to do with your exact amount of calories and macros that you're needing. So you'll definitely want to work with somebody to figure out what that looks like. But this gives you a good start to, at least if you have these components on your plate, to where the 2 servings of produce are taking up half of your meal, it can help you to at least be headed in the right direction if you're starting completely from scratch. So I've formulated these meals to be in that scenario as far as the half a plate or 2 servings of produce, a serving of protein, and a serving of carbs. Breakfast can be a little bit more challenging. So I like to tell people to just try to at least put like 1 serving of produce in there, or maybe like at least, maybe just a protein and a produce. If we're getting in 1 there and then 2 at lunch and dinner, I think that's good enough. So without further ado, these are my top ideas for spring for things you can make at home for your meal ideas to be easily in a calorie deficit. So first of all, smoothies, they are so great. And when I have people that I work with, they tend to find so much more success with adding in a smoothie compared to not doing it because first of all, you can put in a ton of produce in a smoothie. Typically you want like something to sweeten it with. So like a banana, and then adding a vegetable in can be really helpful because it keeps the calories low and just adds a lot of filler and fiber, which helps you to stay full. My favorite go-to smoothie recipe is, at least, like I said, having in a banana, having in spinach, and then having some sort of protein, whether it's like a protein shake, or recently I've been loving doing yogurt. You could always do like protein powder. Some people put in like cottage cheese or even just like milk. And even just like having those 3 components typically is sweet enough. You could always add some honey, or another serving of fruit. Because we're in the spring, I've been doing more strawberries in my smoothie, especially at the end of the week when the fruit is starting to kind of go bad. You can either freeze it or just put it all in a smoothie. And, if it's already a little mushy, you're not going to be able to taste it anyway. So smoothies can really help a lot. The next idea is a veggie egg scramble. So if you like eggs and you have time to make them in the morning, you can totally scramble them all up. You could make an omelet, but I feel like that's like kind of technical and complicated. So just scramble it all up and it'll taste great. You could put in spinach, you could put in mushrooms, onions, all these things are going to count. If you wanted to add a serving of carbs, you could do a piece of whole grain toast on the side. You could do grits, you could do a little bit of oatmeal, and that'll give you your carb, vegetables, protein combo. A thing with eggs, if you are really trying to do a super low calorie day, doing egg whites is going to be lower in calorie than the egg yolk. The yolk is where all the fat is. It's healthy, but it's still calories. So you just kind of have to decide where you want to spend your fat calories throughout that day. And sometimes I'd rather spend it on like a whole milk latte or something. My third breakfast idea is overnight oats with fruit, especially as we're getting into like berry season. I think this can be really tasty. You could like boil the berries down, add a little bit of sugar, and it tastes really decadent, but you're still adding in the whole berry, so it counts as a serving of produce. To make these a little bit higher in protein, you might want to add something like a protein powder to it or yogurt. I think there's a recipe that's in Millennial Living, which is my membership platform. That's a recipe that I use because I don't love protein powder, but I use this recipe that I believe is yogurt and milk, and that together with the oats adds a lot of protein. I think at least like 15 grams or something. And it's all, none of it is going to be protein-y tasting, because you also get a little bit of protein in the oats itself, surprisingly enough. So those are my three top breakfast ideas for you. For lunch, turkey sandwiches I think are great. I've had a lot of clients recently implement sandwiches, and I think that they are a simple thing that we often make too complicated and forget about. But if you think about it, you're getting in protein and a carb, especially if you're doing something like a whole wheat bread that's going to help you to add more fiber. So it helps you to stay fuller. And then you can also add like tomato and lettuce to the sandwich, but then you would also want to pair it with produce on the side. So doing something like an apple and baby carrots would round out the meal really, really well and bring us to that protein, produce, carb scenario. This one, I was thinking of like a salad, like salads are great for lunch, but to make it less boring, I've made this ramen salad recently that I put in my membership platform, Millennial Living. It's it's like I guess like a Thai inspired salad where it's cabbage based. So you put like a whole bag of coleslaw in, and you also add a bag of chopped up like ramen noodles, just dry, and it adds a little bit of crunch, a little bit of almonds, edamame, avocado. It's really good. And then the dressing is really good. It's like sesame oil, vegetable oil, soy sauce, and then you put that all together. And because it's cabbage based, it stays good throughout the week. So you could easily prep something like this and then just separate it. Maybe like don't put in the dressing if you're going to meal prep it for yourself throughout the week. And then you want to add a protein. So I add baked tofu for myself, or my husband doesn't love tofu. So I just make him like sauteed shrimp. You could easily even just do like boiled shrimp. You could do like a pork tenderloin. You could do salmon. You could do anything on top of that salad. And it's one of my favorites. I try to work it in like once a month or once every other month because it is just so good and so hearty for you to prep throughout the week. My last idea is a pasta salad. So especially getting in the spring, we have a lot of fun produce items like asparagus, peas, squash, zucchini, all these things I think taste really good in a pasta salad. And pasta salads tend to get a bad rap, but if you decrease the amount of pasta you're putting in, still put in some because it's a good flavor and it does help us to have more calories in the meal, and then do less produce, and then do more produce part, then you're getting that my plate in there with with carbs and produce. It's something that tastes really good. You could take it to the beach. You could take it on a boating day. You could take it to the park with your kids. And then you might just, again, want to add a protein to it. So sometimes I'll do pasta salad with that's like my fish day. I'll do a fish on the side, or you could add something in like rotisserie chicken or something like that. And then if you want to bulk it up even more, one of my pro tips is to add romaine lettuce in, and it gives a ton of flavor. As far as like soaking in the dressing, I think it does a really good job of this, and it tastes really good. For the dinner options, so the first one is just a basic like meat, two veggies, and a carb. Salmon has been one of my go-tos recently, like making salmon on the stovetop. I guess it would be, you wouldn't say sauteed, maybe like seared salmon, but I cook it all the way through because I'm pregnant. And then whatever, like butter, lemon juice, and whatever herbs I have, I put in there. And then with a salad on the side with some steamed broccoli and butter, and then either like some rice or a potato. And that's a really great, super easy, like all those four components present in the meal. If making four things separate is a lot for you, you could always get the pre-made rice where you just heat it up in the microwave. I always have that on hand. You could easily do like frozen broccoli. You could do like a broccoli cauliflower mix. And if you didn't want to do the salad, all things to kind of cut down on time. My second idea for you is pasta. So maybe don't do the pasta salad and then this, but again, pasta is a really basic thing that you could add and maybe just like tweak the proportion of things. I love doing pasta once a week or every other week, and you could make it balanced by doing a marinara sauce that adds a lot of lycopene, which is really good for us, but also adds just a lot of, again, low calorie vegetable filler, which is the theme of when you're trying to make meals for weight loss. You want to feel full, but you don't want to be full on high calorie things. And vegetables is the way to do it. So trying to add vegetables as much as you can. And marinara sauce, comes from tomatoes, and it's a pretty pure, like they just puree it. So it's like pretty good for us. And then you could add something like ground turkey. I've been doing meatballs, which aren't super bad for you if you just don't do a ton of them, and then a side salad, because you're already getting one serving of vegetables in the marinara sauce. And then you just need another one. When I also like broccoli with pasta, or like steamed green beans. And that all together is a pretty easy meal to make. You could boil the noodles. You just throw in the jar of pasta. You could brown some ground turkey, and put that into the pasta sauce. And then while you're doing all that, you could easily just like steam the broccoli on the side, or again, nothing wrong with doing frozen broccoli. My last dinner idea for you is Asian stir fry with rice. So I love stir frying, or even just like sauteing whatever vegetables that are in season that taste good and have on hand, and putting it on top of some sort of grain, like a grain bowl. But I mean, this is like an original Asian, I guess, like Asian stir fry idea as well. You could just like add an Asian flair to it by adding some sort of like sauce. There's so many Asian type of sauces, especially at places like Trader Joe's, that you could just saute the vegetables, whatever vegetables you have on hand, or you can do from frozen. Sometimes I find those come out a little watery, but you could do whatever vegetables that you have, and then put in the sauce that works for you. And then I would just put it on top of rice. I've done this combination with shrimp, with chicken, and again, a really high vegetable, but some carbs and some protein that all complement it really well, and gives you like a one dish meal, or like one skillet meal all together in like one thing. And you could easily, again, I love throwing rice in the rice cooker. If you don't have a rice cooker, you could get like the pre-made rice. You can get frozen rice. You could do cauliflower rice. There's so many variations on what you could do to kind of make that work. Lastly, snack ideas. So 3 different snack ideas. The way that you would want to model this, just as a general idea, is try to always get a protein and a produce if you can. If a protein isn't going to work, at least maybe a fat, and always a produce. Like basically just always add a produce in every time you eat, and you'll be set up for success as far as keeping you full on a low amount of calories. But my 3 top spring ideas for snacks are: first, cottage cheese with fruit. I've been loving cottage cheese with fruit because, again, I know I need to be getting in more protein right now, but I'm not a huge lover of supplements, just because sometimes I don't like the way they taste, and I find them very expensive. I recommend them all the time to clients because they are a really easy way to get it done if you're starting out or struggling. But cottage cheese is a really good, naturally occurring high protein food. And you could make it savory. I've been enjoying making it sweet with blueberries, a little bit of honey, and some chocolate chips is like my end of the day treat. And there's a lot of protein, I believe like 12 to 14 grams or something in half a cup of cottage cheese. So a lot in there. My next idea would be apple and peanut butter. As I typed this out, I was like, oh my gosh, that sounds so good. And I actually had it right before I filmed this. Peanut butter isn't like the highest source of protein, but it is a little bit of fat, is a little bit of fiber, because nuts have a little bit of fiber as well. And so it is a good combination. It sometimes helps us to feel really satiated because it can be like a little sweeter. So it might help you to stave off any desserty snacks that you end up getting cravings for if you implement more foods like this. You might just want to portion control it. Make sure you're not doing an unlimited amount of peanut butter if you're trying to cut back on calories. But again, produce protein is the way to go. And then lastly, chomp sticks and grapes. So beef jerky is really great. Some beef jerky has added sugar because of like, maybe they have like a teriyaki flavor or something, and that just adds calories. That doesn't keep you full. And so I think chomps doesn't have any added sugar on it, and that's what makes it really low calorie. They do taste a little healthy, but a protein, and then your a produce would be something like grapes. I was thinking like what would be a really easy thing you could like take with you to the park this summer with kids, or like even if you're just like on the way to work or on the way to something, you could easily always keep chomp sticks with you, and then pack something like grapes, or I mean, you could put a vegetable with it. I don't think it would taste very good. And grapes was like my go-to idea because we've already done an apple with them. So that would be my idea for you. But I hope you enjoyed all the low calorie meal ideas that are still filling for you. I put a lot of ideas over on Millennial Living, my membership website. Like I said, and I actually do demos a lot of these items. If you like to see it like real action played out over there. So you can sign up for your first 2 weeks free just to see what it's all about if you want more ideas. But I hope this helped inspire you to kind of get started to put some of these meals in your rotation for this spring if you're trying to be in a calorie deficit.